All right, grade 8s, this is our second lesson online here in regards to the fill in the blank notes. This is lesson 9.3. What impact did the conquest have on Aztec society? And so just a reminder with the fill in the blank notes, these notes don't need to be handed into the Google Classroom. They're just there for you to fill in and have on record so that you can use them when you write your test that will be coming up in about a week and a half. So we'll start into our lesson here today. So what impact did the conquest have on Aztec society? Well, first in 1521, Cortes claimed the land of the Aztec for the Spanish crown and named it New Spain. The conquistadors were given huge tracts of land as a reward for conquering the Aztec Empire for Spain. A land grant included control of all its original inhabitants. The conquistadors were the new nobility of New Spain. They would not do manual labor themselves. The Aztec and other conquered indigenous societies were forced to work as slave laborers for the landholders on their haciendas. In 1512, King Ferdinand enacted laws that called for fair treatment of the Indians. These became the first laws written for Europeans in the New World. The laws gave great power to the landholders, but laid down specific rules to prevent abuse of the workers. First, Indians could not be used to carry goods on their backs like pack animals. Second, children under 14 and pregnant women were not to do heavy work in the mines. And finally, Spanish masters were prohibited from beating, whipping, or calling any Indian dog. These laws were frequently ignored and not enforced. The Spanish attempted to wipe out as much Aztec culture as they could. Aztec religion, arts, and sciences were destroyed. Almost all of their codices, sculptures, and other records were burned or smashed. The conquistadors forced Aztec slave labor to build a new Spanish city on the site of Tenochtitlan, Mexico City. They gradually filled in and built over all the lakes that had provided the Aztec with food, water, and protection. The Spanish viewed the Aztecs as heathens. One purpose of the conquest was to convert the population to Christianity as quickly as possible. New churches were often the first buildings erected in conquered territory. Images of the Virgin Mary, Christ, and Roman Catholic saints were placed in the new churches. The Franciscan and the Dominican priests worked closely with the Aztec who had survived the conquest and converted them to Roman Catholicism. Father Bartolome de la Casa, a Dominican friar, was the strongest defender of the indigenous peoples of New Spain during the early years of Spanish rule. Largely because of his pressure, Spain passed new laws of the Indies for the good treatment and preservation of the Indians in 1542. The new laws abolished Indian slavery and set controls on the landholding system that had brought such great hardship to the original inhabitants. De las Casas was a well-known writer, his most famous work being The History of the Indies of New Spain, in which he provided important archaeological and historical information. Adaptation to a new society. Many of the surviving Aztec nobles began to adapt to the new institutions and Spanish ways. They learned bookkeeping and business practices and became merchants. They bought goods coming from Spain and then sold them in the colony, especially to the indigenous peoples. As the conquistadors settled their land grants, many took Aztec women as their wives. Soon, there was a ruling class that was made up of the sons and daughters of mixed Spanish and Aztec blood. These people of mixed blood were called mestizos, or mestizos. A newly society developed, neither completely Spanish nor completely Aztec, but a new people who formed a culture that grew into modern-day Mexico.